Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Yes, 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 yes. Here we are. How do Thursdays come around so fast? How does it happen? Excuse me, so quickly that we've done the Thursday and then the next thing you know, you blink and then it's another Thursday. I thought that, as you got older, time slowed, but it doesn't seem to be slowing for me, which must mean then that even though I'm getting older, I'm not getting older in here. What do you think? All right. The only thing is, I hope I'm not going backwards. I hope I don't end up in my childhood at some point 10 years down the track. Right. So before we begin, first of all, I'd like to say good morning excuse me, to my spirit guide Gregor, who is right by my side here, to my right side. I'd like to say good morning to Chris, wherever she is, and I would like to say good morning to all of you who are watching now. I was just telling Chris a story about a snake. So maybe at some point I'll continue with the story about the snake. Oh yes, the snake in my house. This is the second time I've had a snake in my house. So it's sort of, it's not the second time I've tackled snakes, but it's the second time I've had a snake actually in the house. You can see I'm smiling, so it's not such a big deal. Anyway, although it might have been at the time, I'm not very fond of snakes. But anyway, before we begin, first of all, I would like to ask everyone, please, 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 our lovely Mark, who is always with us on Thursdays, and he always has lots of things to tell us and lots of comments, and we love him dearly. Well, today he is having surgery, and we want to send him as much healing as we can. So if you could all join with me in sending Mark healing, and I'm pretty certain he's going to be okay, but still it'll be nice for him to know that so many of us are sending our prayers, our healing prayers, our love, and all of that stuff. So that's for Mark. Also, I know that Carol is struggling just a little bit. She's been in and out of hospital having whatever's going on with her. It's not for me to say, but Carol, we just want you to know that we're sending healing to you. I might have a small suggestion for you also. I'll give it to Chris afterwards, and she can pass it on to you. Anyway, right, so I don't know if I've been talking to myself or if there are people already on the show. Oh yes, I know there's one person already listening, because Gary, what were you doing on the roof in the first place? It's far too hot to be on the roof. And in the second place, I'm glad I was the one who managed to get you down off the roof. But knowing you, I know that as soon as this show is over, you'll be back up there. So what are you doing? What are you fiddling about with? And just be really, really careful. Please, please, please be careful. All right. So, Chris, let's ask, is there anybody there, aside from Gary, because I know he's watching, is there anybody there? And for some reason, I've lost Chris. Chris, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? I can't hear a thing. Oh dear, Chris? All right, well, I don't even know. I've been talking for 10 minutes. I don't even know what. I am going to log out. If anybody can hear me, I'm going to log out. I'm going to log back in. So let's try that. So I'll see you in a second or two. All right, let's have a look here. Okay. You sure you're not there, Chris? I seem to be frozen here. Let's see. Leave.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me? We were having problems before we started the show. So let's see if we can get Rosemary back on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Was I talking? And I was talking for 10 minutes to myself,
No,
apparently.
I think everybody could hear you. It's just for whatever reason, you slipped off.
Oh, well, I was here. I think I might be having some trouble with my internet. I don't know. There, let's give it that. There. Oops, wait. There. Can you see me?
I can.
Okay. Can you hear
Uh,
me is more important.
Yeah, well, more important that everybody in the chat room can hear you and see
Okay.
you. So we're good now.
So how much of my rambling did you get there?
I believe we got it all. Just you didn't.
Oh, all right. Well, that's all right then. Woof. Thank goodness I don't have to repeat myself. All right. So I think I was at the point of saying, Chris, is there anybody there?
And yes, we have people logged in. I think we've kind of hit the happy medium of who's going to be here. We always have people join in a little bit late. No questions in the chat room as yet, though.
Oh, well, that's it then. Show's over. Now you all know the rules. Come on, it's a show of participation. But while you're all figuring out your questions or comments or whatever it is, I thought I'd tell you a little story. Um, it has nothing to do with anything at all other than this is my life, right? So I think I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me, twice in my life I've had snakes in my living room. And I should say a snake. Twice I've had a snake, different snake each time. So I was telling Chris this before we came on. Okay, so here's the deal. So my daughter always sends me white orchids for my birthday and Mother's Day. They come fairly close together, and she always sends me those, those white orchids with the big white flowers on, which are beautiful. And so um, here I am. The orchids are delivered outside. It's really hot and sunny outside, so we need to get them in quickly. So the orchids, they were huge. It was a huge 8 or 9 orchids in this thing. And they're gorgeous. They're beautiful, beautiful orchids. Anyway, so they were in a pot, large pot, in a box. But whoever had put them in the box had put them in the box, I guess, to keep them steady. The box was nice and tight around this big round pot. So whoever delivered them sort of put them on the wrong side of, you open the door and there should be the orchids, but no, they're not. They're on the other side. So they were too heavy for me to pick them up. So I dragged them. They're in the box. It was fairly easy to do. So I dragged them around. I opened the outer door. I've got 2 doors. Opened the outer door, pulled them in, huffing and puffing all the time. Finally managed to get them into the house and closed the doors. That was fine. Now I'm dragging them all the way down the side of the house, and my house is sort of fairly long, so it's a long way to go from one end to the other. So I'm dragging them on the floor. I'm thinking if I can drag them into the sunroom, I can put them on the table in the sunroom. So that's what I was dragging them down. Now, here's what you have to know about my house. There's wooden floors, but the borders are black. So anyway, so I'm dragging the orchids all the way down. Finally managed to get them as close to the table as I possibly could. Managed to lift them out and put them on the table. Still huffing and puffing, as you can imagine. So I sit in a chair for a minute to get my breath, because this has been a bit of an effort. So I'm manage to get my breath. I'm just sitting there thinking, whew, thank goodness, that's good. Out of the corner of my eye, I see movement. And down the side wall leading to where I'm sitting, where I've just dragged the orchids down, I see a snake. And I leap up out of the chair, scare the snake. Obviously, the snake slithers really fast, and it slithers behind the television. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? And I watch it, and it's sort of slithering. Now there are big glass sliding doors down that side and all the way across as well. So the snake has somehow positioned itself in the rails where the doors slide, and it's sort of slowly working its way, trying to get up the glass and then slowly working its way. In the meantime, I'm on the phone with my friend saying, help, help, I've got a snake. She comes running over. I keep my eye on the snake, because if you don't know where it's going to go. So at some point, my friend comes in, and the snake's still there, and it's sort of winding its way along this sort of the rails where the windows slide. And then for some weird reason, it sort of turns and goes towards my sofa. There's a big sofa there, and it sort of plonks itself under the sofa. So my friend comes, the neighbors across the street, she's saying hi to them, and they're asking, how is she? And she says, Rosemary's got a snake in the house, and I'm going to see if I can try to help. And the girl across, well, we'll be right over. I'll bring my friend, we'll be right over. So now there's 4 of us, and we're looking at the sofa. And they're saying, are you sure it's under the sofa? I'm sure it's under the sofa. Absolutely sure it's under the sofa. So they proceed to lift the sofa and lean it so that they can see under the sofa. This guy's got a pair of those long-handled, whatever they're called, grippers or what have you, and he's standing there, and my lovely neighbour is standing over by the windows. The windows are now open because we'd like to get the snake out of the house. So she's standing there, and the guy, there it is, the snake is curled and just starting to raise its head, which is not a good sign, because when it starts to raise its head, it means it's going to strike. But anyway, I was worried that it was a water moccasin, but apparently it was only a black snake. It was just a black snake. This is what they say here. It's just a black snake. It won't hurt you. No, well, but still, we don't want it in the house. So the guy uses his grabber, and he grabs the snake, and the snake somehow wriggles out and shoots towards the windows at the back of the house. They're all big sliders. So I'm thinking, good, because they're open. But the snake did not want to go out of the open doors. He liked that. He must have liked the feel of those rails that the window slided along, because he went all the way down, and then he started moving across like this. And my neighbor had brought a pillowcase, because the idea is, if you can get the snake's head in the pillowcase, it can't see and it's more manageable. But the pillowcase was this big and the snake was this big. So anyway, but to my astonishment, at some point, she's there and the snake is heading towards her along the window, and she's saying, come on, little snake. Come on, you are such a beauty. And I'm thinking, it's a snake. Get it out of the house. Come on. She's lovely. She's lovely, this girl. And then before any one of us can blink, she throws the pillowcase somehow over the snake. It doesn't, the head doesn't go in it, but as quick as a flash, she grabs it behind its head and holds it up. And it's a long snake. And she's not phased one little bit. And she just takes it and she walks it out and she takes it into the pool area and then she takes it outside and she just slings it across the grass towards the lake. And that's the end of the snake. And that is my snake story. Now, where did it come from? It must have really, I think, sort of been nicely curled up in amongst my orchids. It must have come out of the van with the guy, because otherwise if there'd been a snake around, I would have seen it. So it was obviously nestled very, very nicely in the orchids, and then dragging it along, I obviously disturbed it. I had no idea I was dragging along not only the orchids, but the snake as well. Anyway, that is my snake story. Now, I've given you lots of time, lots and lots and lots of time here to get some comments, to ask some questions. So did you like my snake story?
I never like your snake stories. Oh my God, I can feel my whole body pulling tight and cringing because we've had some experiences together with snakes. Oh.
I actually have had a few snake stories. I can remember my friend Mary Lou was picking me up and she was sitting in the driveway. She was on a phone and she was waiting for me. I'd put the puppies, this is when I had the two puppies, I put them in the kitchen and I went to the door and I opened the door and I felt this, what I can only describe as the softest, it felt like fur, and I looked down and it was black, and I'm thinking to myself, how did Feather, this is one of the puppies, how did Feather get out? Because Feather was black and soft and gorgeously cuddly and everything, and I'm thinking, how did I looked down, how did Feather get out of the kitchen? And then as I watched, this beautifully soft thing started to wind its way up around my leg, at which point,
oh my God,
I'm standing in the doorway, I'm screaming at Mary Lou, she's on the phone, and I'm shaking my leg, trying to get the snake off of my leg, and she's on the phone and she does the same thing. It takes a few minutes and I'm still trying to get the thing off. Finally, I get it to drop off of my leg, but instead of going outside, which was the plan, it shoots into the living room. And there is a whole other story. And I tell you, that was a funny story too. But anyway, so, but I've battled snakes before also, because in Vermont, they have rattlers in Vermont, which is not such a great thing. And I can remember once Cachorro coming into the house, crying, whining, and I looked, and he got these two little tiny marks on his head, and he'd obviously been bitten by a snake. So I had to go out and find the snake. Anyway, whole other story. Why are we talking snakes? There is a wonderful, you have to be very, very experienced at this to be able to do this. And I hear a lot of people tell me that they do it, but it's something that's very experienced, and it's called, it's a type of meditation, and it's called the Kundalini. And the Kundalini is, it's very, very special. You've really got to know what you're doing, and you really have to be very experienced at it. But it sort of likens the snake coiled 3.5 times around the base of the spine. And as you open up your chakras, and as you open up and sort of eventually the crown chakra, the snake, not physically but metaphorically, winds its round up and around, and as it goes, it touches each of your chakras on the way up until the top chakra. Anyway, that's the Kundalini. Can we get off snakes? I'm jabbering away. Do we have any questions at all? Not necessarily about snakes, but do we have any questions or comments, Chris?
Well, Mandy wrote that this is her first time here in your chat room. So
Oh,
let's tell Mandy this isn't how it normally goes. Tell her what to expect.
yeah, Mandy. I'm so sorry. It's just, I don't know why I'm thinking of this or why I'm telling this story, but this is not the usual show. What usually happens is that I take questions, I answer, we talk about spiritual things. Not that snakes aren't necessarily spiritual. And let's not mention snakes anymore. I'm going to have nightmares about snakes if I'm not careful. Anyway, but normally, I do like to tell people a little bit about my life and how it goes, because people do want to know what do I do when I'm not doing what am I not doing? What do I do when I'm not talking to dead people? I'm always talking to dead people who I don't believe are dead at all. But somebody did ask on the show 2 or 3 weeks ago, which I mean, I know that you all know I've been sick, not deathly sick, not terribly sick, but enough that, and then of course I broke my wrist and all that. Somebody asked on the show 2 or 3 weeks ago, so what happens, Rosemary, when you're dead? When you die, who's going to take your place? Do you have an apprentice? Anyway, we're ignoring that. But Mandy, what we normally do is you can ask me any questions you like. If you've got questions pertaining to life after death, if you've got questions pertaining to anything at all that's spiritual in any way, healing, whatever it is, that's usually what we talk about. This is not a usual show. I mean, is it, Chris? Really? Is it? Or is it? I don't know.
Anytime I'm with you, Rosemary, it's not the typical normal. So I like it.
Okay. We do also occasionally talk about cooking. I actually yesterday went into, oh gosh, I'm so ashamed of myself. Because of I'm using all sorts of excuses because of my wrist and my not being and my being sick, so on and so forth. The last 18 months has been a bit tough, right? So yesterday I decided that I had to clean out all of the cupboards and the food cupboards and what have you. And we buy flour and we buy whatever it is we buy that we keep and what have you. And so I decided that I would go into the food cupboards and check on the sell by dates, which I like to do every now and again anyway, but it's been a while. I have nothing in my cupboards anymore.
Oh boy.
I threw out 3 bags of flour. I'm ashamed to tell you the sell by date of one of them was 2022. Anyway, and so I was doing that, and I was ashamed of myself because of all the starving people, and I kept thinking, should I take this stuff to the food bank? But then I thought, no, because it's not edible. I mean, I don't pay too much attention to sell by dates. I'll often eat something if it's a few days over or something. But when it's 2 or 3 years old, I think it's time to throw it out. So that's what I was doing yesterday. Anyway, move it, Chris. Come on.
All right. We have something from Wayne.
Oh, thank goodness. Wayne, good morning.
Wayne says, the doctor said I've got liver cirrhosis and found a black mark, so I'm going for a CT scan. I just want to say thanks for praying for me, and am I going to be okay?
Yes. However, okay, I mentioned this, I think, last week. I am very, very, very enamored by a certain doctor on who is on YouTube. One of the reasons I really love him is because he gives great advice, and it's all free. He gives recipes for different drinks and things, what have you, and it's all free. And he's amazing. Now, he actually is or was a chiropractor, but I watched a show of his. He was on with a cardiologist, a heart surgeon, who had been a heart surgeon for 25 years so far, and they were talking about all the different things that doctors don't tell you, that they don't recommend, that doctors these days, it seems as if they're not necessarily on a preventative course. They're on a, let's give you this pill or that pill. Whereas in fact, for instance, I've got very weird blood. So it's odd. And I have factor 7, and I have a very rare blood type. So I go to the doctor, and they suggest I go to the blood bank because my blood is too thick. I go to the blood bank and give a pint of blood. Well, they don't want it because it's not good. It's not good blood. You don't want my blood. I'd love to give it to you, but you don't want it. So then it was suggesting, or maybe a baby aspirin, because my doctor's fabulous and she knows that I don't like pills of any description. And then I suddenly remembered, wait a minute, years ago I used to take, in England we call them garlic pearls, but garlic capsules. You can get odorless, and they're tremendous. They help tremendously. But there's another thing also that is called CoQ10, which is also amazing. Now, I am not prescribing that you take these things. What I'm suggesting is you check them out. I know that CoQ10 works. I know that garlic capsules work. That's just my opinion. Please don't take them just because I've said so. Consult with your doctor. Consult with your, whoever it is, with your health care person, whoever it is that you trust, consult with them. But I'm going to suggest here that in this particular case, the doctor that I am following, who has really seriously done his research on all sorts of things, his name is Dr. Alan Mandel, Mandell. Dr. Alan Mandel. And he's great. And he has so many videos out there. Now, let's say before Christmas, I developed this awful cough. Through Christmas and through January and so on, it got even worse, and I could barely breathe. I was in a real mess. So I knew I'd have to go to the doctor. So when I came back to Florida, I went to the doctor, who immediately prescribed, she sent me for tests first. And this is not a nice subject, but I'm telling you this because it's important. So they found, this is horrible, but they found what they call mucus plugs, which went all the way down and into my airways and so on and so forth. And, the body makes mucus naturally, but I guess in my case, it was overdoing it. And so my airways, all my airways and up into my throat, everywhere, this mucus was so, they call them mucus plugs. Not nice at all. And I just couldn't breathe. So immediately they gave me an inhaler, and the inhaler cost $110 a month, right? Okay, so I took the inhaler and it was fine the first time, and then for the first month, and then the second month I had these terrible side effects. And some of you will remember when I couldn't even talk, let alone breathe, and that was partly due to the inhaler. So okay, that wasn't working, so they prescribed me another inhaler, which was $400 and just under $500. And I'm thinking, who can afford that? So I called the surgery and said, no, this is not I'm not paying $500 a month for an inhaler. There's got to be another way. And so they prescribed me another inhaler. And when I went, the pharmacist herself said to me, I've tried every which way. I've put tokens in, I've used your insurance, I've done this and that, but it still comes out to $700 and some dollars. That's not going to work. So that's when I started to investigate. And that's when I found Dr. Mandel. I am not telling you that you should listen to him. I am not telling you that you should use him as a healthcare provider. I am telling you to listen to him and make up your own mind. However, I went into his thing and I put in mucus and so forth, and he gives a recipe. And I think I've given this recipe out to all of you. And the recipe is a cup of hot water, an eighth of a teaspoon of that stuff I hate, cinnamon. But you can't taste it in this, which is good. 1 to 2 teaspoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and about an ounce of lemon juice. Now, we've got that in our cupboard. The only thing I didn't have and had to go out and buy, because I really hate the taste of it, is cinnamon. So I had to go out and buy the cinnamon, but everything else, and the olive oil has to be extra virgin. Takes me 2 minutes to make it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a go. So after the 4th day of taking it, you have to take it every morning on an empty stomach. So, okay, so I take it 4 days. And I start to think to myself, well, I'm feeling a bit better. I feel as if but then I think to myself, no, it's a placebo effect. You think it's going to help, but it's not necessarily going to help. And here we are, 2.5 months later. I do not need an inhaler. I can breathe perfectly. I've never felt as healthy or as well since I can remember. So all I'm saying is, if you have any particular issues or problems, what he prescribes is all natural stuff. And he explains how it works. He explains what you do and so on and so forth. And, so I'm going to say, before you start with taking, here's the problem with pharmaceutical drugs is, we all have to have them, and they are amazing when they work. And if it weren't for the pharmaceuticals and the doctors and so on, I would not be alive today. I would have died when I was 20 because I had all sorts of kidney issues and so on. So I am not belittling doctors. I'm not belittling anybody. But what I am saying is, instead of just taking the drug, see if you can find something that works. I've got to figure out how to thin my blood, right? I'm not going to take an aspirin a day because eventually my stomach will feel it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 1 500 milligram capsule of garlic capsule. I'm taking the CoQ10, which is fantastic. I used to take it a lot. I'm also taking, which I've always done because I've always been really healthy, I take it in spurts, but you can get ginseng and royal jelly, and you can get it on Amazon, and it's not expensive at all, and it comes in little bottles, and that's amazing too. So there are lots of things. Do your research is what I'm saying. So some things are reversible. Some damage is reversible. Some damage is not reversible. But there's always something out there. So if I were you, I'd go on. He doesn't know I'm doing this, by the way. I'm not getting paid to do this. I don't think he even knows I exist. But I just think he's amazing because he's given me back my breath. He's given me back the ability to breathe. He's given me back in that one little drink, which takes 2 minutes to make and another 2 or 3 minutes to drink, and it's delicious. So even even with the cinnamon, it's good. And so there are always ways to, if not to necessarily combat or to cure, there are always ways to make us feel better. So try. So just, that would be my suggestion. But yes, you are going to be fine. But please, if you've got a few minutes, go on YouTube and find Dr. Alan Mandel and put in your issue and see what he has to say. Right, Chris.
The next one is from Jen. Jen says, I need to know if my dad is okay, if that makes sense to Rosemary and Grey Eagle, please.
It makes perfect sense. We know, you all know, those of you who are used to me, I'm not going to give you little, off the cuff tidbits, because that's not how I work. But I am asking Gregor, who tells me that, see, I thought he was going to say, yes, your dad is fine, don't worry, etc., etc. But what Gregor is saying, it's going to take a little while, but he's doing well. So there you go.
The next is from Sandra. Today is my son's birthday. 12 years without him. I miss him. I will celebrate on this side. I hope he is too. Do they still celebrate birthdays on the other side, or is it just a passing old celebration for them that isn't important anymore?
So important for them. I've had so many people from the spirit world who they request their favorite cake or their favorite whatever cookie or whatever it is, and so they certainly will celebrate with you, because when we pass into the spirit world, we don't lose our family. We remain with them. We remain close to them. We come visit as often as possible. They, those in the spirit world, they are still a part of us, and still retaining that connection with us, even though we might not be able to, excuse me, might not be able to see them or to hear them. And birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas is a big one for lots of people. And so many people in the spirit world have opinions on what you should do, what kind of day you should have, where you should go. And they know that these are things that we on this side can do. They'll come with us to do those things, and it's sort of enjoying the memories and enjoying being with each other. So I'm going to not quite right. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I started talking to somebody else. Just started talking, I think, to your son in here there for a minute, and I couldn't quite hear, but for some reason you might want to make a chocolate and raspberry. I've never heard of that one before, but make a chocolate and raspberry cake would be great, and then you could all enjoy it. Maybe it's your favorite, or maybe it's his favorite, I don't know, but chocolate and raspberry is the request. Have no doubt whatsoever he will be there joining with you and celebrating. Now, I know that some of you will think, how can you celebrate when you've lost your child? How can you celebrate? But there are so many things to celebrate. The fact that he even exists and continues to exist in the spirit world, the fact that he is part of us, part of your family. So many things to celebrate, and so many things to remember. So anyway, the request is that I've never heard it before, but chocolate and raspberry. There you are, Chris.
The next one's from Rhonda. Rosemary, thank you for being such a wonderful teacher. Recently, my cousin passed on. She had sent her son to her sister's house because she didn't feel well and didn't want him to worry. She was alone when she passed, which really upset our whole family. I heard your words in my head. No one dies alone. Their angels are with them.
That's
This
right.
made me feel so much better, and I knew that her son was not meant to be there when she passed.
Well, I had this conversation. I had a consultation this week with somebody who was felt so guilty because he left the hospital to go home and take a shower and so on and so forth. And while he was gone, his mother passed. And he was berating himself that he shouldn't have left and so on and so forth. And here's the thing. Very often when we're at that point of, we're about to pass over, sometimes it is hard for people, really, really difficult for people to leave their loved ones who are perhaps sitting by the bed, or they're in the hospital with them. It's easier to let go if they're not physically present. I had a lady once who said, I only went to the bathroom. It took me 2 minutes to pee. I came back and he'd gone. That's all that was needed, that 2 minutes, to be able to just let go enough so that it made it easier for people. It makes it easier very often for people in the spirit world to pass. And you're right, we're never alone. Our angels are always there with us. Our loved ones in the spirit world are always there with us. So we're never alone. But imagine, had she had her son there with her, how difficult, what a struggle it would have been for her to let go of this life, and especially for our children. So God has a plan. We don't always understand it. We don't always like it. Uh, we don't always want the gifts he gives us, but he has a plan, and the gifts are for our benefit. And I think in a way that God gave you all a gift, and certainly, your beloved sister. I think, he had a plan, and that was the way that it should have been. And in the short term, so much more difficult for you all, but in the long term, so much easier. Chris.
Alejandro says, Hi, Rosemary. The eagle and the
Hi.
rose came to my hands by chance, if there is
Aha.
such a thing.
No coincidence. You know this. No coincidences.
I really enjoyed it. Many things resonated. Eagles seem to be a reoccurring quote icon in my life. What's the
Oh,
meaning?
strength, power. It could possibly be. And this afternoon we're going to do our healing session. I think we start at 6 o'clock.
4.
Oh, didn't have as much time as I thought. Sorry, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Oops. Good thing you told me that, Chris.
Actually, now you're making me wonder. I better check again.
Yeah, can you? Because I'd got it in my head it was 6. But anyway, it doesn't. If you could check. But we're doing a we're doing a healing session again. But we're doing, if you can go on my YouTube and you can see how you can give yourself healing. I talk you through the process. There are several videos where I can talk you through the process of healing. But what we're doing now is more of, even though I should be giving you healing as you're listening to me, as I'm talking to you, I will be sending my healing energy to you. So you'll be receiving healing, but you will also be receiving knowledge. And this afternoon, whenever it is, whether it's 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock, we shall be talking about power symbols, a little bit about power symbols, because as healers, or those of us who want healing, we have power symbols and we have power animals. Now, I'm not going to say any more because that's for this afternoon, but believe you me when I tell you that an eagle, if the eagle is your power animal, wow, strong, strength, power, etc. But if you want to tune in, Halandro, and know more and learn more, tune in this afternoon. Do we know what time it is, Chris?
It is 4 p.m. Eastern
Okay.
Standard Time. Yep.
So it's in, what time is it now? 11:45. So it's in 4 hours and 15 minutes. You can come back on exactly where you are now. And we're going to be talking about power symbols a little bit. I'm going to describe to you power symbols and power animals. I'm going to talk to you about how important they are in our lives, in every aspect of our lives, and how they can help us, and how we can understand stuff. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anymore. I still want to talk about it now. Started, but anyway, that's what we're going to be doing this afternoon at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Right, Chris.
This is from Wookie Bear.
From what?
Wookie Bear.
Wookie Bear. All right, let's go.
Hi, Rosemary. Will my son ever find any doctor that will help him? He has been struggling for several years with his help, and the doctors just blow him off and tell him there's nothing wrong. He is so thin now and seems to be getting worse. I'm very concerned.
How old is this young man? I'd like to know the age. And if he'd be willing to come on air with me, maybe we could talk about this and see if we could get to the bottom of it. I'm thinking of a bottom brick, Chris. That's what I'm thinking of.
He's 36.
Okay. So, okay. If he's been to many doctors and they don't seem to get to the issue or to the problem, I think there might be another way to do this, and I would be happy to talk to him. Let's put it that way. If you want to know more about it, or you have to ask him if he'd be willing to talk to me. It would be, I think, a good thing perhaps to do on air, and I'm saying that because I think so many people might benefit from this, because your son is not the only one who has been going to doctors for years and not being able to find solutions for things. But I would also, depending on how he would feel about it, maybe we could have a conversation. Email Chris afterwards, leave your name and number, but you need to talk to your son first of all to see if he would be willing to talk to me. I'm not promising that I can help him in any way whatsoever. What I can do, which seems to be not happening at the moment for him, is what I can do is I can listen to him and see if I can figure out how we can help him. Chris.
Lisa says, good morning. I'm vacationing from Illinois and can actually catch you live today. Well, almost. I'm up the coast in Florida visiting my sister today in Sun City Center. I'll get to see my cousins in St. Petersburg as well. I get to enjoy you while I'm outside on Facebook. I thought I would die yesterday, going under with a wave hitting me at Pensacola Beach. I only lost my favorite sunglasses and not my life. Yay.
Well, strangely, you should say this, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but very, very recently, I've been talking to someone whose loved one actually was crushed by a wave whilst surfing. Obviously, there should have been signs up saying, dangerous tides or waters or what have you, but there weren't. But you need to be really careful with this stuff. I don't want to stop your fun. I'm glad you only lost your sunglasses, and you said, not my life. Waters, there are certain areas in Florida and all over the world anywhere, but there are certain areas where there's an undercurrent and you don't see it. The water looks calm on the top. It looks beautiful on the top, but there are undercurrents that pull you and tug you down and tug you under. So please please, before you go out into the water and enjoy the water, just do a thorough check and make sure that you're in safe waters, because you don't want, I don't want you to lose your life. And what you could have done was you could have come and been on the show with me today. You could have come down here with your family and we could have had fun. You could have been sitting on my sofa with me. But I'm glad you're here anyway, and I'm glad you're watching the show. But do please do be careful of the water and the undercurrent, because the waters in certain parts of Florida are very powerful. Chris.
The initials TE said, I made an appointment with you, knowing the appointment would be around 6 months away. The appointment turned out to be on my sister's birthday. We were talking about it on the phone when I received the notice of the date. Is that unusual?
Nope, not a bit. It's actually very common. Did you have your appointment yet? No, it isn't unusual at all.
All right. The next one's from Vicky. My daughter graduated college 3 months ago and hasn't yet found a job in her field. Can her sibling in the spirit realm tell her if she will find the job for her?
Well, I'm not going to ask the sibling, although it seems to me that she's got, you know, an angel, let's say, a guide, someone who is steering her and guiding her. She needs to listen to that. But I think that, Gregel tells me, I'm asking Gregel because he certainly knows this stuff. I think that the advice is this: she's focused totally on, this is what I want to do, instead of having a little bit wider view, because I think she can end up doing what she wants to do, but she might have to take a tiny sideways step in order to do it. So tell her to be, if she can, be a little bit more flexible, just a little bit more open-minded. The goal is the same. She will get to the place she wants to get to, but she might have to take a little bit wider path to get to it. But she will. So be patient. Chris.
Nomi says the cycle of life is hard to bear sometimes. I'm grateful to you for all the love and advice that comes through these discussions. What is your advice on remembering?
Oh gosh. Well, are we talking about, what is it called? Old timers not remembering there, or are we talking about whether or not we should try to remember things? I don't know. So I'm not quite sure how to answer you. So if you could be a little bit more specific with the question, and then I can help you. Chris.
All right, that was mostly the questions. Now I can come up with some comments. There were a lot of comments surrounding the snakes. See if I can scroll back to what Dean said, because as usual, Dean has his funny stuff. As a kid, we used to fill our shirts with lots of snakes and they would fall asleep there. Then we would search out our sisters and scare them.
Oh, what a nice little boy you were. Really? Oh my gosh. Horrible, horrible thought. Can I just come back to Naomi for a minute here? Because I'm suspecting that, yes, well, I don't remember how she put it, but life can be a trial. And, those trials and tribulations are the gifts that we really don't want, but they're gifts from God to help us to strengthen, to be stronger, to be more empathetic, to be more, let's say, I'm almost going to say human, but I don't really mean that, because some human beings are really not so nice, but to be more aware. So those gifts, those trials, tribulations that we have, Although they are hard, they can teach us how strong we are. But sometimes remembering and going back and remembering things in the past that happened, it can be a negative and it can be a positive. If you are remembering because you want to learn in the way that we do with the bottom brick, you want to learn how you became the person you were, or what molded you, or what caused you to be afraid of this or unhappy with that. I think that remembering is good as long as you don't get steeped in the memories and become depressed with the memories. But again, I won't be able to answer the question fully until I know specifically what it is she means. Go back to the comments, Chris.
All right. Gary said, there are all kinds of treatments out there. I remember Rosemary giving me horse medicine.
What? All right, Gary, we can't let that go. You need, I don't remember giving you horse medicine. You, you need to be more specific and tell the story. So we're waiting for it. So please let people, let people understand what it is that you mean. Also me, because I don't remember it. Anyway.
Leah says, I lost my best friend recently. It has been very hard. It was very unexpected. Can she tell me if she is okay?
The answer, Leah, wow. Wasn't expecting it to come so clearly, but absolutely yes. Totally good. Totally good. And then I'm hearing this voice from behind saying, missing you. So good, but missing you. And I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not. But that's what I'm hearing.
All right, 2 more things and then we're at time. So Nomi responded, that was perfect. Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay, good.
Gary says, horse medicine for Nino's hip. Medicine for horses, Nino and me.
I still don't remember, but I hope it worked. What I do remember, Gary, if I might say, because now you're talking about things, I won't talk about the issues necessarily, but I do remember Gary's a very good friend of mine. He was my student and good friend for a long time. But I remember him going to the doctors and being given what I consider to be not such good advice. And I said to him, you need to go back to the guy who originally saw you. Gary had an accident, so go back to that guy. And I remember we were in Vermont and we were sitting, I think, outside on the on the balcony, and he said, well, he won't remember me. No point calling, because it's been years, blah blah blah. He won't be able to do anything and what have you. So I said, and this other doctor, I think, was suggesting a radical surgery, something that was just was awful. Anyway, so I said, right, and I got the phone and I gave it to him. I handed him the phone and I said, I want you to call the original doctor and I want you to call him right now, and here's the phone. And I want you to call him while I'm making you call him. So he did remember, of course, the doctor's name, was able to find the number and called. And the first thing he was told was, of course, I remember you. He got in for an appointment almost straight away, and he was told, no, you don't need that. This is what you need. And he's been fine ever since. So we talked about doctors earlier. There are good doctors. There are great doctors who make awful mistakes. There are awful doctors who could actually do the one good thing. They're human beings. They're like everybody else. Doctors are not infallible. They are not infallible. And this is why I suggested to you, before you start taking the medications and doing, gone are the days when if a man wore a white coat and a stethoscope round his neck, you did what he told you to do because we didn't know any differently. We didn't know any better. That what the doctor said, we did. And unfortunately, that's not always the right thing to do. So before you take a pill, take a medicine, before you, have a particular surgery or whatever it is that the doctors are suggesting, do your research. And the good doctors, the great doctors, will encourage you to do that. They will say to you, there are other ways, and they will support you in it. And luckily, I have a doctor who supports me. And when she wanted me to take this little pill, she said, I really, 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 really want you to try it. Well, so don't please do your own research, be your own advocate. All right, we shall be back this afternoon in 4 hours, actually, literally in 4 hours, same time. No, same place, sorry, same time, different time, 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are in the world, check your 4-hour timer and then come back in. All right, and we will be here talking about healing. I'm going to be talking a little bit about power symbols and how they can help, and what in fact are they anyway, and why would we have them, and so on and so forth. So we're going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be sending you healing at the same time. We've done it before, you know how it works. If you're new to this, I'll show you how it works. And so I just would like to end the show saying thank you everybody for watching. I do appreciate all of your questions and all of your interest and the support you give. I'd like to say thanks to Chris, but last but by no means least, I'd like to say thank you to Gregor. And if you don't manage to connect this afternoon, we should be back next Thursday as usual, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Spirit World Sees All and Don't They Just. Anyway, we should be back next week. But in the meantime, please everybody, have a very, very, very blessed rest of the day, and have a blessed weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.